Chapter 31. I arrived at the Grove the next morning, intending to talk to Alicia about what Barbary had told me. But as soon as I entered reception, I heard a woman screaming, howls of agony echoing along the corridors. What is it? What's going on? The security guard ignored my questions. He ran past me into the ward. I followed him. The screams grew louder as I approached. I hoped Alicia was okay, that she wasn't involved, but somehow I had a bad feeling. I turned the corner. A crowd of nurses, patients, and security staff were gathered outside the goldfish bowl. Diomedes was on the phone, calling for paramedics. His shirt was splattered with blood, but not his blood. Two nurses were kneeling on the floor, assisting a screaming woman. The woman was not Alicia, it was Elif. Elif was writhing, screaming in agony, clenching at her bloody face. Her eyes was gushing blood. Something stuck out of her eye socket, plunged into the eyeball. It looked like a stick, but it wasn't a stick. I knew at once what it was. It was a paintbrush. Alicia was standing by the wall, being restrained by Yuri and another nurse, but no physical restraint was necessary. She was totally calm, perfectly still like a statue. Her expression reminded me sharply of the painting, the Michaelides. Blank, expressionless, empty. She stared straight at me, but for the first time I felt afraid. Chapter 32. How is Elif? I was waiting in the goldfish bowl and caught Yuri once he returned from the emergency ward. Stable, he sighed heavily, which is about the best we can hope for. I'd like to see her. Elif or Alicia? Elif first. Yuri nodded. They want her to rest tonight, but in the morning I'll take you to her. What happened? Were you there? I presume Alicia was provoked? Yuri sighed again and shrugged. I don't know. Elif was hanging around outside Alicia's studio. There must have been a confrontation of some kind. I have no idea what they were fighting about. Have you got the key? Let's go and have a look. See if we can find any clues. We left the goldfish bowl and walked to Alicia's studio. Yuri unlocked the door and opened it. He flicked on the light, and there on the easel was the answer we were looking for. Alicia's painting. The painting of the grove going up in flames had been defaced. The word slut was crudely dabbled across it in red paint. I nodded. Well, that explains it. You think Elif did it? Who else? I found Elif in the emergency ward. She was propped up in bed, attached to a drip. Padded bandages were wrapped around her head, covering one eye. She was upset, angry, and in pain. Fuck off, she said when she saw me. I pulled up a chair by the bed and sat down. I spoke gently, respectfully. I'm sorry, Elif. Truly sorry. This is an awful thing to happen, a tragedy. Too fucking right. Now piss off and leave me alone. Tell me what happened. That bitch took out my fucking eye. That's what happened. Why did she do that? Did you have a fight? You try and blame me? I didn't do nothing. I'm not trying to blame you. I just want to understand why she did it. 'Cause she got a fucking screw loose. That's why. It had nothing to do with the painting. I saw what you did. You defaced it, didn't you? Elif narrowed her remaining eye, then firmly closed it. That was a bad thing to do, Elif. It doesn't justify her response, but still. That ain't why she did it. Elif opened her eye and stared at me scornfully. I hesitated. No? Then why did she attack you? Elif's lips twisted into a kind of smile. She didn't speak. We sat like that for a few moments. I was about to give up, then she spoke. I told her the truth. What truth? That you're soft on her. I was startled by this. Before I could respond, Elif went on, speaking with cold contempt. You're in love with her, mate. I told her so. He loves you. I said, he loves you. Theo and Alicia sitting in a tree. Theo and Alicia, Kissing. Elif started laughing, a horrible shrieking laugh. I could picture the rest. Alicia goaded into a frenzy, spinning around, raising her paintbrush and plunging it into Elif's eye. She's a fucking nutter. Elif sounded close to tears, anguished, exhausted. She's a psycho. Looking at Elif's bandaged wound, I couldn't help but wonder if she was right. Chapter 33. The meeting took place in Diomedes' office, but Stephanie Clark assumed control of them from the start. Now that we had left the abstract world of psychology and entered the concrete realm of health and safety, we were under her jurisdiction, and she knew it. Judging by Diomedes' sullen silence, it was obvious so did he. Stephanie was standing with her arms closed. Her excitement was palpable. She's getting off on this, I thought, being in charge and having the last word. How she must have resented us all, overruling her, teaming up against her. Now she was relisting her revenge. The incident yesterday morning was totally unacceptable, she said. I warned against Alicia being allowed to paint, but I was overruled. Individual privileges always stir up jealousies and resentments. I knew something like this would happen. From now on, safety must come first. Is that why Alicia has been put in seclusion? I said, in the interest of safety. She is a threat to herself and others. She attacked Elif. She could have killed her. She was provoked. Diomedes shook his head and spoke wearily. I don't think any level of provocation justifies that kind of attack. Stephanie nodded. Precisely. It was an isolated incident, I said. Putting Alicia in seclusion isn't just cruel, it's barbaric. I had seen patients subjected to seclusion in Broadmoor, locked in a tiny windowless room, barely enough space for a bed, let alone other furnitures. Hours or days in seclusion was enough to drive anyone mad, let alone someone who was already unstable. Stephanie shrugged. As manager of the clinic, I have the authority to take any action I deem necessary. I asked Christian for his guidance, and he agreed with me. I bet he did. Across the room, Christian smiled smudgely at me. I could also feel Diomedes watching me, knew what they were thinking. I was letting it get personal and letting my feelings show, but I didn't care. Locking her up is not the answer. We need to keep talking to her. We need to understand. I understand perfectly, Christian said with a heavy, patronizing tone, as if he were talking to a backward child. It's you, Theo. Me? Who else? You're the one who's been stirring things up. In what sense? Stirring? It's true, isn't it? You campaigned to lower her medication. I laughed. It was hardly a campaign. It was an intervention. She was struck up to the eyeballs, a zombie. Bullshit. I turned to Diomedes. You're not seriously trying to pin this on me. Is that what's happening here? Diomedes shook his head but evaded my eye. Of course not. Nonetheless, it's obvious that her therapy has destabilized her. It challenged her too much too soon. I suspect that's why this unfortunate event took place. I don't accept that. You're possibly too close to see it clearly. Diomedes threw up his hand and sighed. A man defeated? We can't afford any more mistakes. Not at such a critical juncture. As you know, the future of the unit is at stake. Every mistake we make gives the trust another excuse to close us down. I felt intensely irritated at his defeatism, his weary acceptance. The answer is not to drug her up and throw away the key. We're not jailers. I agree, Indira gave me a supportive smile and went on. The problem is we're become so risk-averse. We're rather over-medicate than take any chances. We need to be brave enough to sit with the madness to hold it instead of trying to lock it up. Christian rolled his eyes and was about to object, but Diomedes spoke first, shaking his head. It's too late for that. This is my fault. Alicia isn't a suitable candidate for psychotherapy. I should never have allowed it. Diomedes said he blamed himself, but I knew he was really blaming me. All eyes were on me. Diomedes' disappointed frown, Christian gaze, mocking, triumphant. Stephanie's hostile stare, Indira's look of concern. I tried not to sound as if I was pleading. Stop Alicia's painting if you must, but don't stop her therapy. It's the only way to reach her. Diomedes shook his head. I'm beginning to suspect she's unreachable. Just give me some more time. No. The note of finality in Diomedes' voice told me that arguing further was pointless. It was over. Chapter 34. Diomedes was wrong about it snowing. It didn't snow. Instead, it started raining heavily that afternoon. A storm with angry drumbeats of thunder and lightning flashes. I waited for Alicia in the therapy room, watching the rain batter the window. I felt weary and depressed. The whole thing had been a waste of time. I had lost Alicia before I could help her. Now I never would. A knock at the door. Yuri escorted Alicia into the therapy room. She looked worse than I expected. She was pale, ashen, ghost-like. She moved clumsily and her right leg trembled non-stop. Fucking Christian, I thought. She was drugged out of her mind. There was a long pause after Yuri left. Alicia didn't look at me. Eventually spoke, loudly and clearly, to make sure she understood. Alicia, I'm sorry you were put in seclusion. I'm sorry you had to go through that. No reaction. I hesitated. I'm afraid that's because of what you did to Ela. Our therapy has been terminated. This wasn't my decision, far from it, but there's nothing I can do about it. I'd like to offer you this opportunity to talk about what happened, to explain your attack on Ela, and express the remorse I'm sure you're feeling. Alicia said nothing. I wasn't sure my words were penetrating her medicated haze. I'll tell you how I feel. I feel angry, to be honest. I feel angry that our work is ending before we're even properly begun. And I feel angry that you didn't try harder. Alicia's head moved. Her eyes stared into mine. You're afraid. I know that. I've been trying to help you, but you won't let me. And now I don't know what to do. I fell silent, defeated. Then Alicia did something I will never forget. She held out her trembling hand toward me. She was clenching something, a small leather-bound notebook. What's that? No reply. She kept holding it out. I peered at it, curious. Do you want me to take it? No response. I hesitated and gently took the notebook from her fluttering fingers. I opened it and thumbed through the pages. It was a handwritten diary, a journal. Alicia's journal. Judging by the handwriting, it was written in a chaotic state of mind, particularly the last pages where the writing was barely legible, arrows connecting different paragraphs written in different angles across the page, doodles and drawings taking over some pages, flowers growing into vines covering what had been written and making it almost indecipherable. I looked at Alicia, burning with curiosity. What do you want me to do with this? The question was quite unnecessary. It was obvious what Alicia wanted. She wanted me to read it. Part 3. I mustn't put strangeness where there's nothing. I think that is the danger of keeping a diary. You exaggerate everything. You are on the lookout, and you continually stretch the truth. Jean Postury. Though I'm not naturally honest, I am sometimes so by chance. William Shakespeare, The Winter's Tale. Alicia Bernson's diary, August 8. Something odd happened today. I was in the kitchen making coffee, looking out the window, looking without seeing, daydreaming, and then I noticed something, or rather someone, outside. A man. I noticed him because he was standing so still, like a statue, and facing the house. He was on the other side of the road, by the entrance to the park. He was standing in the shadow of a tree, a tall, well-built. I couldn't make out his features, as he was wearing sunglasses and a cape. I couldn't tell if he could see me or not through the window, but it felt as if he was staring right at me. I thought it was weird. I'm used to people waiting across the street at the bus stop, but he wasn't waiting for a bus. He was staring at the house. I realized that I had been standing there for several minutes, so I made myself leave the window. I went to the studio. I tried to paint but couldn't concentrate. My mind kept going back to the man. I decided to give myself another 20 minutes, then I'll go back to the kitchen and look. If he was still there, then what? He wasn't doing anything wrong. He might be a burglar, studying the house. I suppose that was my first thought, but why just stand there like that, so conspicuously? Maybe he was thinking of moving here. Maybe he's buying the house for sale at the end of the street. That could explain it. But when I went back to the kitchen and peered out the window, he had gone. The street was empty. I guess I'll never know what he was doing. How strange. August 10th. I went to the play with Jean Felix last night. Gabriel didn't want me to, but I went anyway. I was dreading it, but I thought if I gave Jean Felix what he wanted and went with him, maybe that would be the end to this. I hope so, anyway. We arranged to meet early to have a drink, his idea, and when I got there it was still light. The sun was low in the sky, coloring the river blood red. Jean Felix was waiting for me outside the National. I saw him before he saw me. He was scanning the crowd, scrolling. If I had any doubt I was doing the right thing, seeing his angry face dispelled it. I was filled with a horrible kind of dread and nearly turned and bolted, but he turned and saw me before I could. He waved and went, and I went over to him. I pretended to smile and so did he. I'm so glad you came, Jean Felix said. I was worried you wouldn't show up. Shall we go in and have a drink? We had a drink in the foyer. It was awkward to say the least. Neither of us mentioned the other day. We talked a lot about nothing, or rather Jean Felix talked and I listened. We ended up having a couple of drinks. I hadn't eaten and I felt a bit drunk. I think that was probably Jean Felix's intention. He was trying his best to engage me, but the conversation was stitted. It was orchestrated, stage managed. Everything that came out of his mouth seemed to start with, "Wasn't it fun when," or "Do you remember that time we," as if he rehearsed little reminiscences in the hope that they'll weaken my resolve and remind me how much history we had, how close we were. What he doesn't seem to realize is I've made my decision, and nothing he can say now will change that. In the end, I'm glad I went. Not because I saw Jean Felix, because I saw the play. Alcestis. It isn't a tragedy I heard of. I suppose it's obscure because it's a smaller kind of domestic story, which is why I liked it so much. It was staged in the present day, in a small suburban house in Athens. I like the scale of it, an intimate kitchen sink tragedy. A man is condemned to die and his wife, Alcestis, wants to save him. The actress playing Alcestis looked like a Greek statue. She had a wonderful face. I kept thinking about painting her. I thought about getting her details and contacting her agent. I nearly mentioned it to Jean Felix, but I stopped myself. I don't want to involve him in my life anymore, or any level. I had tears in my eyes at the end. Alcestis dies and is reborn. She literally comes back from the dead. That's something there that I need to think about. I'm not sure exactly what yet. Of course, Jean Felix had all kind of reaction to the play, but none of them resonated with me, so I tuned him out and stopped listening. I couldn't get Alcestis' death and restoration out of my mind. I kept thinking about it as we walked back across the bridge to the station. Jean Felix asked if I wanted to have another drink, but I said I was tired. There was another awkward pause. We stood outside the entrance to the station. I thanked him for the evening and said it had been fun. "Just have one more drink," Jean Felix said. "One more, for old time's sake?" "No, I should go." I tried to leave and he grabbed my hand. "Alicia," he said, "listen to me. I need to tell you something." "No, please don't. There's nothing to say, really. Just listen. It's not what you think." And he was right. It wasn't. I was expecting Jean Felix to plead for our friendship or try to make me feel guilty for leaving the gallery, but what he said took me totally by surprise. "You need to be careful," he said. "You're way too trusting. The people around you, you trust them. Don't trust them." I stared at him blankly. It took me a second to speak. "What are you talking about? Who do you mean?" Jean Felix shook his head and didn't say anything. He let go of my hand and walked off. I called after him, but he didn't stop. "Jean Felix, stop." He didn't look back. I watched him disappear around the corner. I stood there, rooted to the spot. I don't know what to think. What was he doing, making a mysterious warning and then walking off like that? I guess he wanted to get the upper hand and leave me feeling unsure and wrong-footed. And he succeeded. He also left me feeling angry. Now, in a way, he made it easy for me. Now I'm determined to cut him out of my life. What did he mean about people around me? Presumably, that means Gabriel? But why? No, I'm not doing this. This is exactly what Jean Felix wanted. To fuck with my head. Get me obsessing about him. Come between me and Gabriel. I won't fall for it. I won't give it another thought. I went back home and Gabriel was in bed, asleep. He had a 5 a.m. call for a shoot. But I woke him up and we had sex. I couldn't get close enough to him or feel him deeply enough in me. I wanted to be fused with him. I wanted to climb inside him and disappear. August 11. I saw that man again. He was a bit farther away this time. He was sitting on a bench farther into the park. But it was him, I could tell. Most people are wearing shorts and t-shirts in light colors in this weather. And he was wearing a dark shirt and trousers, black sunglasses and cape. His head was angled toward the house, looking at it. I had a funny thought. Maybe he's not a burglar. Perhaps he's a painter. Perhaps he's a painter like me and he's thinking about painting the street or the house. But as soon as I thought this, I knew it wasn't true. If he were really going to paint the house, he wouldn't just be sitting there. He'll be making sketches. I got myself into a state about it and phoned Gabriel. That was a mistake. I could tell he was busy. The last thing he needed was me calling, freaking out because I think someone is watching the house. Of course, I'm only assuming the man is watching the house. He could be watching me. August 13. He was there again. It was soon after Gabriel left this morning. I had a shower and saw him out the bathroom window. He was closer this time. He was standing outside the bus stop, like he was casually waiting for the bus. I don't know who he thinks he's fooling. I got dressed quickly and went into the kitchen to have a better look, but he was gone. I decided to tell Gabriel about it when he got home. I thought he brushed it off, but he took it seriously. He seemed quite worried. Is it Jean Felix? He said straight away. No, of course not. How can you even think that? I tried to sound surprised and indignant, but in truth I have wondered that too. The man and Jean Felix are the same build. It could be Jean Felix, but even so, I just don't want to believe it. He wouldn't try to frighten me like that, would he? What's Jean Felix's number? Gabriel said. I'm calling him right now. Darling, don't, please. I'm sure it's not him. Positive? Absolutely. Nothing happened. I don't know why I'm making such a big deal out of it. It's nothing. How long was he there for? Not long, an hour or so, and then he vanished. What do you mean vanished? He just disappeared. Uh-huh. Is there any chance you could be imagining this? Something about the way he said that ignored me. I'm not imagining it. I need you to believe me. I do believe you. But I could tell he didn't totally believe me. He only partly believed me. Part of him was just humoring me, which makes me angry if I'm honest. So angry I have to stop here, or I might write something I'll regret. August 14. I jumped out of bed as soon as I woke up. I checked the window, hoping the man would be there again, as Gabriel could see him too, but there was no sign of him, so I felt even more stupid. This afternoon, I decided to go for a walk despite the heat. I wanted to be in the park away from the buildings and roads and other people, and be alone with my thoughts. I walked up to Parliament Hill, passing the bodies of sunbathers strewn around on either side of the path. I found a bench that was unoccupied and I sat down. I stared out at London gleaming in the distance. While I was there, I was conscious the whole time of something. I kept looking over my shoulder but couldn't see anyone. But someone was there the whole time. I could feel it. I was being watched. On my way back, I walked past the pound. I happened to look up and there he was, the man. He was standing across the water on the other side, too far away to see clearly, but it was him. I knew it was him. He was standing perfectly still, motionless, staring right at me. I felt an icy shiver of fear. I acted out of instinct. Jean Felix? I shouted. Is that you? Stop it. Stop following me. He didn't move. I acted as fast as I could. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and took a photo of him. What good it will do, I have no idea. Then I turned and started walking quickly to the end of the pond, not letting myself look back until I reached the main path. I was scared he was going to be right behind me. I turned around and he was gone. I hope it's not Jean Felix. I really do. When I got home, I was feeling on edge. I drew the blinds and turned off the lights. I peered out the window and there he was. The man was standing on the street, staring up at me. I froze. I didn't know what to do. I nearly jumped out of my skin when someone called my name. Alicia? Alicia, are you there? It was that awful woman from next door, Barbie Hillman. I left the window and went to the back door and opened it. Barbie had let herself in the side gate and was in the garden clenching a bottle of wine. Hi, honey. I saw you were in your studio. I wonder where you were. I was out. I just got back. Time for a drink? She said this in a baby voice she sometimes uses and that I find irritating. Actually, I should get back to work. Just a quick one, and then I'll have to go. I got an Italian class tonight, okay? Without waiting for a reply, she came in. She said something about how dark it was in the kitchen and started opening the blinds without asking me. I was about to stop her, but when I looked outside, no one was on the street. The man had gone. I don't know why I told Barbie about it. I don't like her or trust her, but I was scared, I suppose, and I needed someone to talk to, and she happened to be there. We had a drink which was unlike me, and I burst into tears. Barbie stared at me wide-eyed, silent for once. After I finished, she put down her bottle of wine and said, "This calls for something stronger." She poured us a cup of whiskeys. "Here," she gave it to me. "You need this." She was right. I needed it. I knocked it back and felt a kick from it. Now it was my turn to listen while Barbie talked. She didn't want to scare me. She said, but it didn't sound good. "I've seen this on like a million TV shows. He's studying your house, okay, before he makes his move. You think he's a burglar?" Barbie shrugged. "Or a rapist. Does that matter? It's bad news, whatever it is." I laughed. I felt relieved and grateful that someone was taking me seriously, even if it was just Barbie. I showed her the photo on my phone, but she wasn't impressed. Text it to me so I can look at it with my glasses on. It looks like a blurry smush to me. "Tell me, have you mentioned this to your husband yet?" I decided to lie. "No, not yet." Barbie gave me a funny look. "Why not?" "I don't know. I suppose I worry Gabriel might think I'm exaggerating or imagining it." "Are you imagining it?" "No." Barbie looked pleased. If Gabriel doesn't take you seriously, we'll go to the police together, you and me. I can be very persuasive, believe me. Thanks, but I'm sure that won't be necessary. It's already necessary. Take this seriously, honey. Promise me you'll tell Gabriel when he gets home? I nodded, but I had already decided not to say anything further to Gabriel. There was nothing to tell. I have no proof of the man was following me or watching me. Barbie was right. The photo proves nothing. It was all in my imagination. That's what Gabriel will say. Best not to say anything to him at all and risk upsetting him again. I don't want to bother him. I'm going to forget all about it. 4 a.m. It's been a bad night. Gabriel came exhausted at about 10. He had a long day and wanted to go to bed early. I tried to sleep too, but I couldn't. Then a couple of hours ago I heard a noise. It was coming from the garden. I got up and went to the back window. I looked out. I couldn't see anyone, but I felt someone's eye on me. Someone was watching me from the shadows. I managed to pull myself away from the window and ran to the bedroom. I shook Gabriel awake. The man is outside, I said. He's outside the house. Gabriel didn't know what I was talking about. When he understood, he started to get angry. For Christ's sake, give it a rest. I got to be at work in 3 hours. I don't want to play this fucking game. It's not a game. Come and look, please. So we went to the window and of course the man wasn't there. There was no one there. I wanted Gabriel to go outside to check, but he wouldn't. He went back upstairs, annoyed. I tried reasoning with him, but he said he wasn't talking to me and went to bed in the spare room. I didn't go back to bed. I've been sitting here since then, waiting, listening, alert to any sound, checking the windows. No sign of him so far. Only a couple more hours to go. It will be light soon. August 15. Gabriel came downstairs ready to go to the shoot. When he saw me by the window and realized I'd been up all night, he went quiet and started acting strange. Alicia, sit down. We need to talk. Yes, we do need to talk about the fact that you don't believe me. I believe that you believed it. That's not the same thing. I'm not a fucking idiot. I never said you were an idiot. Then what are you saying? I thought we were about to get into a fight, so I was taken aback by what Gabriel said. He spoke in a whisper. I could barely hear him. He said, I want you to talk to someone, please. What do you mean? A policeman? No, Gabriel said, looking angry again. Not a policeman. I understood what he meant, what he was saying, but I needed to hear him say it. I wanted him to spell it out. Then who? A doctor. I'm not seeing a doctor, Gabriel. I need you to do this for me. You need to meet me halfway, he said it again. I need you to meet me halfway. I don't understand what you mean. Halfway where? I'm right here. No, you're not. You're not here. He looked so tired, so upset. I wanted to protect him. I wanted to comfort him. It's okay, darling, I said. It's going to be okay. You'll see. Gabriel shook his head like he didn't believe me. I'm going to make an appointment with Dr. West as soon as he can see you. Today, if possible. He hesitated and looked at me. Okay? Gabriel held out his hand for mine. I wanted to slap it away, scratch it. I wanted to bite him or hit him or throw him over the table and scream, you think I'm fucking crazy, but I'm not crazy. I'm not. But I didn't do any of those things. Instead, I nodded and took Gabriel's hand and held it. Okay, darling, I said, whatever you want. August 16. I went to Dr. West today, unwillingly, but I went. I hate him, I've decided. I hate him and his narrow house and sitting in that weird, small room upstairs, hearing his dog barking in the living room. It never stopped barking. The whole time I was there, I wanted to shout at it to shut up. And I kept thinking Dr. West would say something about it, but he acted like he couldn't hear it. Maybe he couldn't. He didn't seem to hear anything I was saying either. I told him what happened. I told him about the man watching the house and how I had seen him following me into the park. I said all of this, but he didn't respond. He just sat there with that thin smile of his. He looked at me like I was an insect or something. I know he's supposedly a friend of Gabriel, but I don't see how they ever could have been friends. Gabriel is so warm and Dr. West is the opposite warm. It's a strange thing to say about a doctor, but he has no kindness. After I finished telling him about the man, he didn't speak for ages. The silence seemed to last forever. The only sound was that dog downstairs. I started to mentally tune in to the barking and go into a kind of trance. It took me by surprise when Dr. West actually spoke. We've been here before, Alicia, haven't we? I looked at him blankly. I wasn't sure what he meant. Have we? He nodded. Yes, we have. I know you think I'm imagining this. I'm not imagining it. It's real. That's what you said last time. Remember last time? Do you remember what happened? I didn't reply. I didn't want to give him the satisfaction. I just sat there glaring at him like a disobedient child. Dr. West didn't wait for an answer. He kept talking, reminding me what happened after my father died, about the breakdown I suffered, the paranoid accusations that I made, the belief I was being watched, being followed, and spied upon. So, you see, we've been here before, haven't we? But that was different. It was just a feeling. I never actually saw someone. This time I saw someone. And who did you see? I already told you, a man. Describe him to me. I hesitated. I can't. Why not? I couldn't see him clearly. I told you he was too far away. I see. And he was in a disguise. He was wearing a cape and sunglasses. A lot of people are wearing sunglasses in this weather, and hats. Are they all in disguise? I was starting to lose my temper. I know what you're trying to do. And what is that? You're trying to get me to admit I'm going crazy again, like after Dad died. Is that what you think is happening? No, that time I was sick. This time I'm not sick. Nothing's the matter with me, apart from the fact that someone is spying on me and you won't believe me. Dr. West nodded but didn't say anything. He wrote a couple of things down in his notebook. I'm going to put you back on medication as a precaution. We don't want to let this get out of hand, do we? I shook my head. I'm not taking any pills. I see. Well, if you refuse the medication, it's important to be aware of the consequences. What consequences? Are you threatening me? It's nothing to do with me. I'm talking about your husband. How do you think Gabriel feels about what he went through last time you were unwell? I pictured Gabriel downstairs waiting in the living room with the barking dog. I don't know. Why don't you ask him? Do you want him to have to go through it all again? Do you perhaps think there's a limit to how much he can take? What are you saying? I'll lose Gabriel? That's what you think? Even saying it made me feel sick. The thought of losing him. I couldn't bear it. I'll do anything to keep him, even pretend I'm crazy when I know I'm not. So I gave in. I agreed to be honest with Dr. West about what I was thinking and feeling and tell him if I heard any voices. I promised to take the pills he gave me and to come back in 2 weeks for a checkup. Dr. West looked pleased. He said we could go downstairs now and rejoin Gabriel. As he went downstairs in front of me, I thought about reaching forward and shoving him down the stairs. I wish I had. Gabriel seemed much happier on the way home. He kept glancing at me as he was driving and smiling. Well done, I'm proud of you. We're going to get through this. You'll see. I nodded but didn't say anything because, of course, it's bullshit. We aren't going to get through this. I'm going to have to deal with it alone. It was a mistake telling anyone. Tomorrow I'm going to tell Barbie to forget all about it. I'll say I put it behind me and I don't want to talk about it again. She'll think I'm on and she'll be annoyed because I'll be denying her the drama. But if I act normally, she'll soon forget all about it. As for Gabriel, I'm going to put his mind at rest. I'm going to act like everything is back to normal. I'll give a brilliant performance. I won't let my guard slip for a second. We went to the pharmacy on the way back and Gabriel got my prescription. Once we were home again, we went into the kitchen. He gave me the yellow pills with a glass of water. Take them. I'm not a child. You don't need to hand them to me. I know you're not a child. I just want to make sure you'll take them and not throw them away. I'll take them. Go on then. Gabriel watched me put the pills in my mouth and sip some water. Good girl, he said and kissed my cheek. He left the room. The moment Gabriel's back was turned, I spat out the pills. I spat them into the sink and washed them down the drain. I'm not taking any medication. The drugs Dr. West gave me last time nearly drove me crazy, and I'm not going to risk that again. I need my wits about me now. I need to be prepared. August 17. I started hiding this diary. There's a loose floorboard in the spare bedroom. I'm keeping it there out of sight in the space underneath the floorboards. Why? Well, I'm being too honest here in these pages. It's not safe to leave it lying around. I keep imagining Gabriel stumbling across the notebook and fighting his curiosity, but then opening it and starting to read. If he found out I'm not taking a medication, he'll feel so betrayed, so hurt. I couldn't bear that. Thank God I have this diary to write in. It's keeping me sane. There's no one else I can talk to, no one I can trust. August 21. I've not been outside for 3 days. I've been pretending to Gabriel that I'm going for walks in the afternoon when he's out. But it's not true. It makes me fearful, the thought of going outside. I'll be too exposed. At least here in the house, I know I'm safe. I can sit by the window and monitor the passersby. I'm scanning each face that passes for that man's face, but I don't know what he looks like. That's the problem. He could have removed his disguise and be moving about in front of me completely unnoticed. That's an alarming thought. August 22. Still no sign of him, but I mustn't lose focus. It's just a matter of time. Sooner or later, he'll be back. I need to be ready. I need to take steps. I woke up this morning and remembered Gabriel's gun. I'm going to move it from the spare room. I'll keep it downstairs where I can get to it easily. I'll put it in the kitchen cupboard by the window. That way it will be there if I need it. I know all this sounds crazy. I hope nothing comes of it. I hope I never see the man again. But I have a horrible feeling I will. Where is he? Why hasn't he been here? Is he trying to get me to lower my guard? I mustn't do that. I must continue my vigil by the window. Keep waiting, keep watching. August 23rd. I'm starting to think I imagined the whole thing. Maybe I did. Gabriel keeps asking me how I'm doing, if I'm okay. I can tell he's worried, despite me insisting I'm fine. My acting doesn't seem to be convincing him anymore. I need to try harder. I pretend to be focused on work all day, whereas in fact, work couldn't be further from my mind. I've lost any connection with it, any impetus to finish the paintings. As I write this, I can't honestly say I think I'll paint again. Not until all this is behind me anyway. I've been making excuses about why I don't want to go out, but Gabriel told me tonight I had no choice. Max has asked us out to dinner. I can't think of anything worse than seeing Max. I pleaded with Gabriel to cancel, saying I needed to work, but he told me it would do me good to go. He insisted and I could tell he meant it, so I had no choice. I gave in and said yes. I've been worrying all day about tonight because as soon as my mind started turning on it, everything seemed to fall into place. Everything made sense. I don't know why I didn't think of it before. It's so obvious. I understand now. The man who's watching, it isn't Jean Felix. Jean Felix isn't dark or devious enough to do this kind of thing. Who else would want to torment me, scare me, punish me? Max. Of course it's Max. It has to be Max. He's trying to drive me crazy. I'm dreading it, but I must work up the courage somehow. I'm going to do it tonight. I'm going to confront him. August 24th. It felt strange and a little frightening to go out last night after so long inside the house. The outside world felt huge, an empty space around me, the big sky above. I felt very small and held on to Gabriel's arm for support. Even though we went to our old favorite Augusto's, I didn't feel safe. It didn't feel comforting or familiar like it used to. The restaurant seemed different somehow, and it smelled different. It smelled of something burning. I asked Gabriel if something was on fire in the kitchen, but he said he couldn't smell anything. That I was imagining it. Everything's fine, he said. Just calm down. I am calm. Don't I seem calm? Gabriel didn't respond. He just clenched his jaw, the way he does when he's annoyed. We sat down and waited for Max in silence. Max brought his receptionist to dinner. Tanya, she's called. Apparently they started dating. Max was acting like he was smitten with her, his hands all over her, touching her, kissing her, and all the time he kept staring at me. Did he think he was going to make me jealous? He's horrible. He makes me sick. Tanya noticed something was up. She caught Max staring at me a couple of times. I should warn her about him, really. Tell her what she's getting into. Maybe I will, but not right now. I got other priorities at the moment. Max said he was going to the bathroom. I waited a moment and then I seized my chance. I said I needed the bathroom too. I left the table and followed him. I caught up with Max around the corner and grabbed hold of his arm. I gripped it hard. Stop it, I said. Stop it. Max looked bemused. Stop what? You're spying on me, Max. You're watching me. I know you are. What? I have no idea what you're talking about, Alicia. Don't lie to me. I was finding it hard to control my voice. I wanted to scream, I seen you, okay? I took a photo. I took a picture of you. Max laughed. What are you talking about? Let go of me, you crazy bitch. I slapped his face hard, and then I turned and saw Tanya standing there. She looked like she was the one who'd been slapped. Tanya looked from Max to me, but didn't say anything. She walked out of the restaurant. Max glared at me, and before he followed her, he hissed, "I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm not fucking watching you. Now get out of my way." The way he said it was such anger, such contempt. I could tell Max was speaking the truth. I believe him. I didn't want to believe him, but I did. But if it's not Max, who is it? August 25th. I just heard something, a noise outside. I checked the window and I saw someone moving in the shadows. It's the man. He's outside. I phoned Gabriel, but he didn't pick up. Should I call the police? I don't know what to do. My hand is shaking so much I can hear him downstairs. He's trying the windows and the doors. He's trying to get in. I need to get out of here. I need to escape. Oh my god, I can hear him. He's inside. He's inside the house.